All right, so me could talk about this thing. You know, I get a press release here, but the press release, if you just read the press release and don't get it from the lady's mouth, I would be doing injustice to it. So that is why I call you, because I don't want to just read the press release. It's about the Privy Council refusal to the application for leave to argue additional grounds in the case of Sean Campbell, Adisa Palmer, Kyra Jones, and Andre St. John. I want you to really explain to the IRFM listeners. It's a total different kind of listeners, them. The IRFM listeners. What is this happening here now? Because there's a lot of true things that happen. Say, boy, I'm not going to come out of jail now because they refuse this and refuse that. So you are the best person to...
Well, the thing about it is, I'm just a humble, how should I put it, prosecutor who is going to make an attempt to explain. The thing is, you know that Mr. Palmer and other persons were convicted of murder at the trial. Then the matter went to the appeal court. They appealed conviction and sentence. And you had many days of arguments between their lawyers and lawyers for the Crown, for the prosecution. At the end of the day, the judges upheld the conviction and sentence. However, there were arguments in law where their lawyers sought to persuade the Court of Appeal to give them what we call leave to appeal to the Privy Council in England. The Privy Council, according to our structure, legal structure, is still the highest appellate body for Jamaica. So the Court of Appeal in Jamaica did grant
to the
leave
YouTube channel.
on certain grounds, and allowed them to appeal to the Privy Council. Now, along the way, while the matter is there waiting to be heard in England, before the Privy Council is there, the lawyers in England and here for Mr. Palmer and the other accused asked permission of the court in Jamaica for the cell phone, which is at the heart of the Crown's case, the cell phone belonging to Mr. Palmer, to be examined by their expert. The court here granted that permission on the condition that the cell phone is to be examined in the presence of the expert, the cyber expert, prosecution. So they were able to examine the phone. So what they did is sought leave from the Privy Council, and they did this in writing. So at the Privy Council, at the Court of Appeal here too, you have to submit written submissions. Then the Privy Council now will decide whether they need to hear from you. So written submissions were submitted by Mr. Palmer's lawyers, as well as the lawyers in England for the Crown, to do what we call adduce fresh evidence. That is fresh evidence from the expert, their expert who examined the phone. And also, they decided to seek permission of the Privy Council to advance or to argue additional grounds that they didn't argue in the Court of Appeal in Jamaica as part of their application for leave, permission to go to the Privy Council. So detailed submissions were submitted by the lawyers for the appellants, as Mr. Palmer and the others, as well as lawyers for the Crown. And we have English barristers as well in England acting for the Crown. And so the Privy Council, having considered the written submissions, decided to refuse the application for leave to adduce the fresh evidence, that is the evidence that they wanted to bring before the Privy Council to try to establish that there was some improper interference with the cellular phone of Mr. Palmer while it was in the custody of the police. So they refused permission to do that, and they also refused permission for his lawyers to advance additional grounds of appeal in respect of which permission had not been previously granted by the Court of Appeal in Jamaica. So with that, there remains the substantial appeal against conviction and sentence, which will be heard by the Privy Council at an appointed date.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a question. This thing around the cell phone was what Adidja Palmer lawyers was wanted to advance in the court, and they passed that already in the local court. The local court did already throw it down.
No. So what happened? Remember, the prosecution centered a lot of its case on the contents of the cell phone, the voice notes, and that sort of thing.
Yes.
So at the Privy Council, I mean, this thing has gone now. It has gone through Court of Appeal, and at the Privy Council, his lawyers now wanted permission to adduce what we call in law fresh evidence. So whatever the expert found and has put in a report, they wanted to be able to call the expert who would swear on the Bible or affirm, as the case may be, and give that evidence to the Privy Council up there, or so put the written report before them. So that is what they refused, as as additional grounds that they had formulated.
So you have any idea what the new evidence would be or could be?
Well, what would happen, is that written submissions, perhaps it would be what the expert found, but written submissions of this would be put before the Privy Council, and the reason why it was not available at the time of the trial, because there's a concept in law called fresh evidence, also at the appellate court in Jamaica. So for it to be able to pass muster, it would have to have not been available at the time of the trial, and it would have to be credible, basically. So it is for the Privy Council, having looked at the written submissions, to decide as a matter of law whether they could give that permission as a matter of law. Because remember, Mr. Mutabaruka, when we're dealing with law, some people think that the law can be an act, but when you're dealing with law, it's an objective situation. It's not about how you feel or whether the person who is appealing is popular. It's about what the case law that has been decided over the years, what it has to say on the point, and the material that the lawyer, whether for the Crown or for the defense, is going to put before the Privy Council to say, this is why, and this is the case law that supports that. So they looked at all the written submissions and they refused those applications.
What Adidja Palmer lawyers are asking for, is there a precedence to that they could bring to the Privy Council or the court down here?
Well, if you're looking at the concept of fresh evidence, it's a concept known to law. The concept of fresh evidence, it's a concept, well-known concept known to law. But the thing is, whether the material or what they're seeking to advance as the reason why they didn't put it forward before, or of what import it's going to be in the scheme of things, it's whether, as far as the judges are concerned, it is justified by the case law or whether the case law can be cited to justify them. If they don't find that the case law, the objective case law, and the material presented, that it match, then they are not going to allow you.
Okay.
It has happened here in Jamaica.
So what will happen now? What will happen now? What
happens? They having refused these applications. The main substantive appeal now against conviction and sentence will be heard by the Privy Council at a date that they will set. You understand? So it's a substantive appeal now, where they are saying, based on this evidence, based on this particular ground of appeal that we are advancing, we should not have been convicted, and we should not have, and therefore the sentence should be set aside. So what they want is for the conviction to be quashed and the sentence set aside. But when you are in the appeal court, it's not a trial of the case all over again.
Okay.
Right? Like when the jury sit and hear the evidence and hear the witnesses give the testimony and hear your cross-examination, that is not what happens on appeal. On appeal, it's all about the law. Right? So you will have about 5 judges at the Privy Council who will sit and listen to arguments in law, looking at the circumstances of the evidence that was put forward, but arguments only in law would be made by the attorneys, the lawyers for both sides, both for the appellant and for the crown. And
so is there any time granted this thing would proceed or continue, or I'm have to sit down there another 7 years to find out?
No. I mean, the thing is that I would think somewhere before the end of the year.
Okay.
That may be set for their calendar, because remember they have other cases that they have to hear from other countries in the Caribbean, from countries in Asia. They have other cases that they have to hear. So they are the ones who set the calendar, and then they notify the lawyers on both sides.
Well, you have made it clear. I mean, you said better than if I just read it off on the paper. So
okay.
Yeah, so we give thanks. We give thanks for your contribution here. And you are still the director of public prosecution.
Yes, when last I checked, I'm still the director of public
prosecution. Because I heard some squabbling going around the place that it's time you go because of your age.
And I went to the gym
You are listening
this
to
morning.
the Black Radar YouTube channel.
I went to the gym this morning because I tried to do a little walking and lift a little weight, something, and somebody said to me, "Boy, Miss Llewellyn, what a way your age going all over the place." I said, "But what is a very good thing is that everybody says, well, you look much younger than what you actually are."
All right.
I like to smile.
Yes,
right? And God has been good to me in terms of my genes. And I'm going to leave you with this. I tell the story all the time. A few years ago, about 3-4 years after I become DPP, maybe 5 years, and I'm in the supermarket, Mutabaruka, and a man comes up to me and says, "I love your smile. I'm glad to meet you, man. I see you on the TV. I'm glad to meet you." I said, "Okay, that's nice." So I noticed that he wasn't moving. So I looked at him now. I said, "Is everything all right?" He comes up to me close and look in my face and say, "But what a way the stress agree with you." Right? So God is good to me. And perhaps it is. I work very hard. I work long hours into the night. I go to court. Sometimes in some really tough cases, I supervise 57 lawyers at my office. They prosecute all over the island of Jamaica in the Court of Appeal, gun court. Sometimes I go to court in different parts of the island too, because I lead from the front, and I am accountable for all decisions made by Crown Council in my name and on my behalf.
Okay.
So, and then
head cook, you're the head cook and buckle watcher. You're the head cook and buckle watcher.
I'm accountable. I'm accountable to the public of Jamaica because your taxes pay my salary.
Okay.
But God continues to be good to me because, and I'm grateful that somehow the stress seems to agree with me. It's like that's my makeup.
Okay, give thanks, you know.
I give thanks all the time. So I all the very best to you and your listeners at RFM, and you have a good afternoon and take good care of yourselves. Okay. Bye.
That was Miss Paula Llewellyn, and she's the Director of Public Prosecution, kind of breaking it down for the listeners about this new development in the vybz cartel case, even though it's not him alone. You know, it's like when them say SSL thief the money them, so it's not Ungo Bolt alone money, but because him is the main factor in it. People always call the vybz cartel case. Gambler also, Kaira Jones and Andre St. John. That is the case that is in question here. So we'll be hearing more of it. As you should say, by the end of this year, we have to call her back to hear what is going on with this case, because a whole heap of people are champ on it. Whole heap of people.
The informative information presented in this video is motivational and is positively aimed at inspiring, educating and entertaining the viewers with the cutting edge of critical reasoning. If you enjoy the contents on the Black Radar YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to show your support.